Hey everyone, welcome. It's Sarah. Happy Juneteenth, and thanks for joining me for another Backstage Pass, losing my mind today, where I get to chat with my incredible friends. And this week I'm really excited because we have my friend China Forbes, and I'm bringing her into the conversation. And here she is. We're waiting for China. Really excited that she's joining me. I've done so many concerts with China and with Pink Martini. And there she is.
I did it. I didn't know if I would
Hello.
get in. I've never done this before.
You perfected technology. You're all
Mhm.
good.
Okay, I'm relieved.
Welcome.
Now I can relax.
Now you can relax and just chat. It's
Get
great
the dog
to
hair
see
out
you.
of my mouth.
Yeah, you know, hair is everywhere.
Yeah, I just got a dog a week ago.
You did? What kind of dog?
He's a rescue from Texas. He's 3, and he
Aw.
looks like a cattle dog mixed with maybe some sort of shepherd, maybe Australian.
So like a medium-sized dog.
He's 35 pounds. Come here.
Yeah.
Come here.
Let's see him.
He's right
Let's
here.
see him.
Come, Brisket. This is Brisket.
Oh, Brisket. Is he delicious?
He's delicious. He's from Texas. He's barbecue.
Oh, hi, sweetie. Hi, Brisket.
I haven't even told anyone I got a dog yet.
Well, now we all know. So thank you. Thanks for telling us.
You're welcome.
That's awesome.
He's super affectionate.
Yeah. I love dogs. Dogs are important.
How's Pinkerton?
Pinkerton is good. For those of you who don't know, my dog Pinkerton got hit by a larger dog, got T-boned. He basically herniated 2 discs in his back. He was paralyzed. Did emergency surgery, and he's okay. His legs are moving. He can kind of walk now, which is just like 1 month. It's amazing. Animals are amazing.
That is incredible.
And the prognosis is good. So we're really, really happy.
Good. Is he? What does he look like? Is he tiny?
He's tiny. He's like 10 pounds. He's a little papillon. So he's.
I had a papillon. I had a corgi papillon mix.
You did?
Named Foxy.
I'm trying to think what a corgi papillon mix would look like.
She looks she looked like a small corgi, like a fox. Her name was Foxy, and she was the inspiration for our song Lily.
Oh,
the Pink Martini song where everyone's like, is that about a girl or a dog?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's good to know. Next time we perform that, I'll be like, yes. I know where that song comes from.
It's so much.
So, hey, welcome. I'm just going to give the brief rundown. Everyone knows who you are, but just in case you don't know, China is the lead singer of the band Pink Martini that everyone knows. She also does, you've had like 4 solo albums? Am I right?
Two solo albums, and I sang a TV theme song. So I put out a single.
TV themes
for that.
Okay.
Clueless,
so,
the TV show. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So songstress extraordinaire, fashion maven, and fellow Harvard grad, which is kind of our connection. Worked with you a bunch of times with orchestras. And so I wanted to ask you, so the singing thing, when did that start? Was that like a childhood? Did you discover your voice super early on? Did you know that's what you wanted to do? Or how'd you come to that?
I came to it very early, and I made the mistake of answering my son's question, when did you decide you wanted to be a singer? And I told him 8. And so ever since he was 8, he's like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I'm a failure. So I don't know if I couldn't have lied to him, but it didn't help him to know that I decided that at such a young age. And are we frozen?
Oh, just this, yeah, a little bit. No, I think I have you back. Hi. Still frozen. Wonder if that's me or
Let me make sure my Wi-Fi.
Okay, we're getting a blurry China. In the meantime, if anyone has any questions they want me to ask China, let me know.
Downstairs network, and it's not reaching me. Is that better?
You look good now, yeah. Okay.
Oh, good. Okay.
We're here.
So when I was 8, I bought my first album with my own money.
Oh, frozen again. We're having some technical issues. Wondering if it's on my... No. Oh, no, you're back.
That's better. When I was 8, I bought my first album with my own money, and it was Donna Summer Live and More. and I wanted to be Donna Summer, and I looked at her beautiful pictures of all of her live concerts and her beautiful costumes, and just fantasized about being that kind of diva, you know?
Yeah.
And I taught myself to sing by imitating her, and then eventually other singers that I loved over the years, but I didn't really take voice lessons. I just sang all the time.
It just sort of came to you and you wanted to do it, and it sort of, yeah. So how did you, let's see, did you know at that young age that you wanted to do this for, you know, as a career for your life, or was it more like, I love doing this, I'm going to do something else?
No, it was definitely like, I'm going to be a singer, but I didn't go about it in a way that other young people who decide they want to be a singer go about it. Like, I didn't want to be a child performer. I just knew that I would be a singer when I grew up. And like my, I think 9th birthday party it just kind of says it all. Like, I invited my best friend over, just one friend, Sonia Oken, and I greeted her at the door like I was the hostess. I seated her at the restaurant. I changed into a sparkly dress and I sang "Let Me Entertain You." Then I changed into a different outfit and became the birthday girl. And I created a menu, and my parents made the 3 items on the menu that I chose, which were cannelloni, and OJ was the beverage.
OJ, very important.
And the dessert was baked Alaska. And this was my birthday party. How insane is that?
I love that. And your parents went along with that, which is even,
they were so cute.
wonderful.
They were like burning the baked Alaska, and the ice cream was melting, and it was so stressful.
Oh, it's so perfect. That's amazing. Wow. So speaking of being theatrical, you started off after college as an actress. Is that right?
I did.
So what was that switch about? You were singing, but
I knew I wanted to be a singer, but I was always into theater. So I did plays in high school, but I didn't get to do a musical until college, because at my elementary school had a 9th grade musical, and my sister played Reno Sweeney in Anything Goes. She's 2 years older. And I was just like, when I'm in 9th grade, I'm going to be the lead in the musical. I was so excited. And then we got to 9th grade, and no one else in my class liked to sing. And they were like, let's do a play this year. So I never got to do it. And then I played sports in high school. So I couldn't do musicals because it never worked out with the sports.
Right.
And so when I got to Harvard, I auditioned for HRDC open casting, and I got like the best role ever for a freshman, which was the 2nd best role in Evita. So Jackie Sloan was Ava Perone, and I was the mistress, and I got to sing Another Suitcase in Another Hall. And that was kind of my
fabulous
introduction to being in a musical. And it was such a big production for a college production. It was in the ART main stage, so it was like all the technical stuff was really impressive, and it was so much fun. And then I did that for the rest of college. I just did theater. And then when I graduated, I moved to New York, and I went to auditions. I was cast in Once on This Island. That was my first professional show, and Norm Lewis was in that cast with me, and he went on to be in Les Mis on Broadway.
Right.
And, he's amazing.
Wow.
So like over the years, I met all these people who are still in theater. I did it for like 2.5 years. I did about 4 or 5 shows in New York. And then I decided I didn't really see myself plugging away at the, out of work actor, auditioning constantly lifestyle. And I also wanted more autonomy. I didn't like that I had to be cast in something to do my work.
Right.
So I decided to focus solely on my music career, and I started playing gigs, had a band in New York, and did all that. It was very rock and roll, though, not Pink Martini.
So interesting, because you're identified with a certain style at this point, but you started somewhere else completely.
Totally, yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
So you went from actress to rock and roll gal.
And then, it wasn't hard rock, but it was like singer songwriter.
Right.
Rock,
it wasn't like
hard.
Okay.
I wasn't Whitesnake, but I was like REM. No, not even REM. So yeah.
Then what led you back to Thomas Lauderdale and to Pink Martini?
That was a crazy story. So I was living in New York. I was between shows No, I transitioned from theater. I think I was totally done with theater when he called me. I was just doing gigs, you know, playing with my band. I was in the process of like starting, like auditioning for this theme song to Clueless and like
Right.
and collaborating with other artists and stuff. But Thomas called me out of the blue, and we hadn't seen each other since we graduated. So it had been three years.
Right.
And he was like in a frenzy because he said, I started a band in Portland where I live, and I don't have a singer. He got in an argument with the singer and fired the singer, and asked me if I could fly in that weekend and just like sing, because he knew, because in college he produced some of the plays I was in. He accompanied me for like fun collaborations that we did. So he thought I was funny, and he thought I could sing. And he was like, I want you for my band. But I lived in New York, and I had no interest in moving to Portland. So he just had me come for the weekend. I met so many people who I'm still super close to, like that first weekend. It was weird. It's like this little hamlet of cozy neighborliness, and Thomas knows everybody. So I met a lot of people.
Everybody, yeah.
And one of them is my baby daddy. It was like the future father of my son.
Wow.
But we didn't get together then. It was years later. So anyway, I had an amazing time, but it was just kind of a novelty. And I went back to New York, and then he asked me to come back again. And then I couldn't come back. And then he had other people sing, and then he didn't like it. And then he asked me again. So it was just this sort of, over the next 3 years, I was commuting a lot, but not living there. And then finally, it was a combination of things. Like Pink Martini was starting to be kind of like a really viable option. And we'd made an album and put it out. And my dad got pancreatic cancer. And so I kind of dropped everything to be with him, because he only had 6 months to live.
Wow.
And so I left New York. I was in Cambridge with him. And then when he died, I just sort of felt like, I don't want to go back to New York. I've sort of dropped the ball on everything. And Pink Martini is like waiting for me, you know? And so I was like, I think I'll just like move to this wonderful city that I've grown to love. And so I moved that fall. My dad died in July of 98. I moved in October of 98 to Portland. Wow. And then I've been here ever since.
I mean, I guess you very early on found your community there and sort of
totally
place and felt included. Yeah, that's what I want to be.
Yeah, it's a great place to live, and especially if you're a touring artist and you get to see incredible cities all over the world. You just want to come back to a sanctuary, and that's what it feels like to me. Yeah,
yeah. So 20 years, no, more than 20 years with Pink Martini. And I'm just curious, what's the collaborative process like? I know that, you know, you're incredibly involved in songwriting, and so how does a song come to be? The life cycle of a song in a nutshell.
I'll tell the story of Sabbatical, which is the most interesting. So I've been writing songs since I was a child. Thomas has been playing the piano since he was a child. He started this band, but it was all covers. He never intended to write an original song. Okay. When he asked me to get involved, I thought it was fun and everything, but I was like, I'd like to make some original songs. Like, we don't just do covers. And he was like, okay. So I was at his piano, which I now own. I bought from him, playing a melody. And it's that thing where if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, did it really fall? Like, if I had played this melody in my house and no one was there to hear it, would anyone have thought like that should be a song? Maybe not. Right. Like, it was catchy. It's like da 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 da. So he's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "I'm just making it up." And he was like, "It sounds French." And I was like, "Oh." And then he brought over this sheet music, a Poulenc piece called Hotel, and it had these really fun lyrics that ended with, "I don't want to work, I want to smoke." And he was like, "I like these lyrics. Like, can we do something with these lyrics?" And I just he started playing another melody for the verse, and I started singing those lyrics just like as a placeholder in our melody, and they worked perfectly. So the first couple of lines are from this other piece. And then we went on to write the rest of it over time. So like, we wrote the first verse, and we're like okay at French, but like we kind of needed some guidance. And I was sitting
Right.
next to some French Canadians at the restaurant Zephyro in Portland. And I was like, how do you say la ra? And they were like, oh, and I was like, thanks, you know, and like I wrote their second verse there. And then we finished it, and it's like, I mean, it's like magic. Like that song has launched our career.
Yeah.
It's like our most famous song.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one that has a chorus, Je ne veux pas travailler, in case people don't know what I'm talking about. And it's like all of France knows the song.
And it wasn't even written by a French person. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of extraordinary, isn't it?
And people think, I mean, we did get sued. We did get sued.
Yeah, I remember that story. Yes.
Because they're like, hello, that's from the poem by Guillaume Apollinaire called Hotel. And we're like, really? Like, we thought it was a public domain, you know, piece by Poulenc.
Right.
And so, and we got sued. And then, but it doesn't matter. Like, I'm glad I didn't know, because I would have been I'm sort of like the goody two shoes who would have like said, we can't use that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that the song exists and that we didn't know any better.
Right. Great happenstance on that.
Yes.
Speaking of French and having this great hit song be in French, so there's always a global vibe to Pink Martini. I mean, obviously that's sort of not a mission, but, you know, part of the vibe of the group. So how do you find these songs? I mean, they just cross all borders. They're Turkish, they're Egyptian, they're, you know.
It's really, I mean, Thomas majored in history and literature. He's like a real historian, archivist. Like he archives everything he ever did, and anyone he loves, he archives everything they've ever done. Like he has a file on everyone. And he's always sort of digging. So I always call him a musical archaeologist. Like he's looking for that obscure, really cool song that no one knows, or that everyone in, you know, Lebanon knows, but like no one in America knows. And he finds these songs. Sometimes people will suggest them to us. But usually it's just like, you know, the song that he's passionate about. He becomes a bit obsessed, and then he wants a version.
And that must be a challenge for you to learn different languages.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, I bet that's fun. Do you have to sort of tap, you know, friends or colleagues or people who are specialists in languages to really, that makes sense.
So, I mean, I speak French and Italian, but other than that, I had a coach with Portuguese, I had a coach with Turkish, I had a coach with Arabic. They're just people we know, not professional coaches, but just friends. And they help me get the sounds and tell me what it means. And it's like, but it's like a domino effect. Like we went to Syria and I was singing a song in Arabic and I was sort of self-conscious because I was like, everyone here knows what I'm saying and I better say it right.
Right.
And then because I was thinking about that, I forgot the words, and then it all tumbled down because you can't jump back in the middle of a sentence when you don't really know what these puzzle pieces exactly all mean.
Exactly.
You know, so it's not like I'm going to work for the UN. Like I did not master 25 languages.
But you know how to sing songs in them. Yeah. You can create the sounds perfectly. Yeah.
Try.
So as a singer for a band, it's one thing, but being a solo artist, do you approach that differently? Or collaborating with, I think you did a album with Michael Feinstein and just these other things that you do?
Well, Michael Feinstein and I did a duet together that we put on our, like the Pink Martini. It was a Pink Martini collaboration.
Gotcha.
But I haven't been, I mean, Thomas and I have recently been writing with another writer because we went through a fallow period and we kind of couldn't get back into writing. After we wrote that first song together, we wrote so many songs. There was like a frenzy of writing, but after 25 years, it kind of dried up for a while. So we're having a ménage à trois with this guy, Jim.
That
we're now
naughty and wonderful.
And he's really sort of broken the ice and like brought some passion back into our relationship. And so the three of us have come up with some amazing songs that we're releasing actually in like a week.
No kidding.
Yeah, Pink Martini's going to release them one by one. So this first one is coming out. It was recorded partially, but we decided to release it as is.
Okay.
Since with COVID, we didn't finish it.
Right. Given the extenuating circumstances of the world. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of a fallow period, you quite famously, in an awful way, you had a vocal polyp, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that really sidelined you for a while. Do you feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable sort of talking about how that happened and what it felt
Totally.
like to have to work through that?
Yeah, it was intense. I mean, you know, let's see. So I had just had my son,
Mm-hmm.
basically, like he was just about 2. And when I had my son, first of all, I was vulnerable to like all his little toddler colds. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm really careful. Like I'm a germaphobe who's always washed my hands well before COVID-19. Like I'm
Right.
seriously conscientious about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no avoiding catching the colds of my child and having to go on tour, and you know, having a cold and a sore throat or congestion when you're a singer is just like the worst thing ever.
Right.
So I had to kind of push through a lot of that, and so I was
Mm-hmm.
just straining. Like it's like you get on stage and you're like, I gotta survive this moment. I guess I'll just go for that note and just, even though it doesn't feel good, you know.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of that and just not being careful because I didn't really know any better because I'd never had any vocal problems before. So I didn't realize that, like, no, I'm not made of Teflon, and
Mm-hmm.
I actually do need to rest my voice. Like I didn't really think about that before.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hoarse for months, and I was like, oh God, this cold won't go away. Like, why am I still hoarse? And then finally I was like, I'm not sick, but I am hoarse. And that was terrifying. And then my voice went out live on a radio show. Like then I could barely make a sound at another show, and it was so scary. So I finally went to the doctor, and he was like, oh, you have a massive hemorrhage, which it just looked like a bruise. And so he said, don't speak for 2 weeks, because if you keep, every time you speak, it's like poking a bruise and never letting it heal. And after 2 weeks, it cleared up, but there were these teeny little polyps left behind. And so then I had the existential crisis of, I can sing with these polyps. I don't really feel, you don't feel any of this. It doesn't hurt.
Okay.
But knowing that if they burst again, they could cause scar tissue over time. It was almost scarier to keep them than to have them surgically removed.
Right.
But surgery on your vocal cords is like the scariest thing ever. So it was really hard. I had to, I got some different opinions, but then I just made the decision, like, I won't be able to sing freely if I feel like I'm always going to break these things, you know?
Yeah.
So I did it, and luckily I had this amazing doctor here in Portland, and it was like, it's like such a big deal and such a tiny deal. Like he's just like, boop, okay, they're gone. But it's like with a scalpel that's like a foot long down your throat. So, and working on teeny little, membranes. So I learned a lot about anatomy and about vocal health, and I did speech pathology and I started taking voice lessons to make sure that I never did that again. I found a teacher, Angela Niederloh, who's here in Portland, and she's just the best and so much fun. She's an opera singer, which was fun because I got to then really work on opera with her. And that's what I basically do in my voice lessons. I work mostly on opera.
Yeah, that's a whole
which is just a passion of mine.
Yeah, that's a whole different technique of producing sound.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so different. It's so foreign to me that's like constantly, I have to remember so many technical things that I still haven't gotten to the point where it just all falls into place without effort. Yeah. So maybe I will someday. Yeah.
Be even more of a diva than you are. Oh, fabulous.
But an interesting cultural detail is that while that was happening to me, it was also happening to another singer named Adele at the exact same time. Same exact problem.
Interesting.
Same time. But she was much more public with it, and I was sort of like traumatized and didn't want to talk about it with people in the public. So it was helpful to know that she had it too.
Yeah. To feel like someone else is going through.
Yeah, someone who's amazing. Yeah.
So I'm going to pivot a little bit and talk about touring, because that's sort of a musician's life, or Pink Martini's life. So what do you love about it? And then what are the downsides?
I'll start with the downsides.
Okay.
I am a homebody, so I don't like leaving. I have a son whose life I don't want to miss.
Right.
And friends and a life in Portland that I love. So it's always really sad. Like I kind of dread the tours when they're coming. But it's like once, when you're packing for a trip and you're just like, oh, so stressful. And then you get on the plane and you're like, well, now I can just relax because I don't have to make any more decisions. I have that like, every time. So it takes a lot to plan to leave for a month or 6 weeks at a time. But once I'm out there, I just I can go with it. And then I can really enjoy the fact that I love the band and we have such great friendships and we have these fun adventures and there's like incredible shows night after night. And it just feels like, is this real? Like we're just doing this, playing beautiful music. The people leave happy, it just feels so good. And then seeing the world has been amazing. Yeah. And always knowing that like, oh, there's a place I've never been, but I'm sure someday we'll tour there.
You get to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so I love that.
Someone who travels a lot, I sympathize with the whole thought of just getting ready and the preparation and the anticipation of leaving is, I think, the worst part. And really, once you start the travel, you're like, okay, we're on the road, it's happening, and you kind of are able to embrace it and enjoy it more.
Right.
So like, what are some of your most favorite venues? Like, where have you been that was just astonishing, amazing, magical? Any of those things?
Well, so Hollywood Bowl, we've played so many times, like 20 times.
That's incredible.
It's so spectacular. Disney Hall, so both in Los Angeles. The Frank Gehry building is amazing. It feels wonderful to be in there. Sydney Opera House was amazing. Just to be there. It's very 70s inside and kind of dated. Like you're like, oh, it's not what I expected at all. But it's retro, like such a cool building. And then Carnegie Hall, because I obviously, and I grew up, my mom's apartment in New York was 2 blocks from Carnegie Hall in the same between 6th and 7th, but on 55th instead of on 57th. And just the fact that I always thought like maybe I'll sing there someday. And then I moved to Portland and came back from Portland and sang there.
Right.
Like that was pretty amazing. And it was like this princess moment because I got a dress from Carolina Herrera and a beautiful hairdo from Rick Pipino and a MAC makeup artist. And like, I felt like I was at the ball.
Right.
That was our first time we played there. We played there a couple of times. And then in Paris, the Grand Rex, I really love because it's sort of, I'm pretty sure it's by the same architect as Radio City Music Hall, which is on my bucket list. Still haven't played there. It's just really cool. And then the Olympia, which is famous, but it's kind of more like a rock club in there.
Right. So many different venues you guys have been in. It's amazing.
I know. I'm thinking of others too. Like, I really love the Green Center in Sonoma.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's like you're in the shed and then there's people out on the lawn.
Outdoor, yeah, exactly.
And that Wolf Trap is like that too.
Right.
Cool. Of course, Kennedy Center. Severance Hall in Cleveland. Yeah. Gorgeous. Those are just to name a few. And CBGB's Gallery, but that was my solo career. I don't think it exists anymore.
I know it doesn't. I don't think so either. Memorable concerts. I'm always curious, like when something horrible happens and you have to make it right, because that's a part of being an artist and a live musician is being able to do that. What sticks with you is something horrible that you righted?
Oh my God. There have been so many funny, early on. I don't know that it was something horrible, but it's usually something like Thomas or we say something that's not the right thing to say or inappropriate. So we played it in Beaverton, Oregon at the so they call, there's like the Taste of Portland, like these festivals on the waterfront, and
Right.
Beaverton, it's called the Taste of Beaver. I mean, how can you not make a joke?
You've got
right?
to be kidding.
No, they actually called it that. And we went and played, and Thomas was like, we in Pink Martini just love the Taste of Beaver. And I was like, how would you know? And then I said, I wouldn't know. And I was like, as a matter of fact, neither would you. So that was like a triangle of deliciousness.
Yes.
And then there was an amazing moment where Thomas and I wrote this song called Aspetami, and we performed it at the Hollywood Bowl. It was probably at the very beginning of our times at the Hollywood Bowl. And I said, you know, Thomas and I wrote this song. It was largely inspired by Thomas's boyfriend, and da-da-da. And then there was this silence, and Thomas got up and said, Grandma, I'm gay.
Oh,
it was amazing. It was amazing. Shit. Everybody laughed hysterically.
Right.
But it was true. His grandmother was there, and she did not know.
So that's great, though, in front of 18,000 people, like that. Wow.
So I love those moments so much.
Yeah, yeah.
So much. I mean, there's been a lot like that, but I don't really feel like I can talk about the other one.
Well, I mean, these are people with who you have so much history. I mean, it's been over 20 years. And what's that like, having this long-term relationship and, you know, with shifting personalities and everyone goes through life differently, you know, things happen, you have kids, you know, your own life changes. What's it like to be with that core group of people for so long and being creative together?
It feels like it's like just yesterday that it started in a way. It's sort of like it doesn't feel like, wow, 25 years of you, gee, like I'm not sick of people, you know. I'm not sick of singing the songs, and I think it's really kind of marvelous. Like I like that we have this history and that we grew up together, and and that we've gone through some really intense personal times, like many of us, and yet we've come through them, we've stayed together. And everything's pretty calm now. Like, I think that everything sort of just found a good balance. It's weird. Like it's worked for so long. Yeah. It feels good.
Which is great. And it really is like having another family.
Yeah.
Sense, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Well, speaking of family, although I haven't seen it, I know your sister made this movie called Infinitely Polar Bear, which is about your actual family.
Yes.
So what's the process like of having basically your childhood not put on display, but sort of described to a larger world? What was that like?
I was excited. Partly, it's interesting. I grew up in a really unusual situation. My mother and father, well, first of all, I'm mixed race. So my mom's Black, my dad's white. My mom at the time, as a Black woman in Boston, she couldn't get a good job with her Sarah Lawrence degree. So she was like, I need to go to graduate school. Like I can't, I'm not, she was just getting sort of menial jobs. My father was like cripplingly bipolar. So he could not have a career. They started out in the theater. With Al Pacino and Stockard Channing at the Theater Company of Boston. My mom was a producer. My dad was a lighting designer. But then as time went by, it was like my dad couldn't hold on to his jobs. And we were broke, and my mom was desperate. My parents split up because of my dad's mental situation. And they loved each other, but she just couldn't really be with him anymore.
Right.
And so it was such a weird situation. My mom got into Columbia Business School and asked my dad to just move into the apartment she was living in with us and take care of us while she went to graduate school.
Right.
And so in the movie is about that time when my dad raised us. And even though he was suffering from bipolar disorder, he was a great dad in his own way. We didn't die somehow.
It's always great in child rearing, you know. It's key component.
I mean, the way parents are now, it's so hilarious to me that like we actually survived. But you know, a lot of dads are working so hard they never see their kids. It was the opposite. Like my dad wanted to be one of the kids. Like he wanted to be with us all the time, which was annoying. And my
But
mom
fun,
moved to New
probably.
York. What?
But fun probably to have,
It was fun
a
a lot
parent
of the
who won't be
time.
so involved. Yeah.
It was annoying to us because we just, that was, you know, we didn't know anything different. So it was just like too much. But our friends were like, your dad is so cool. Like all of our friends loved him. And then my mom, her career, like she kept getting sort of stuck in New York after business school, like getting jobs only in New York. So she never came back from New York. And my dad raised us, and then we went to boarding school, and then we went to college. And then after that, I actually lived with my mom in New York after college for 3 years, which was really
you
fun.
did?
And my
those
mom's
were actress days?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I could be an actress, because I lived in my mom's apartment.
Right.
But it was like my mom wasn't, like she was always in our lives. She just didn't live with us, but she visited every weekend, and you know, it's not like we were estranged or anything.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the movie, I didn't answer your question.
Yes.
So to watch this movie, it was sort of, I was always ashamed. Like I grew up like, we don't have any money, you know, we're mixed race. Nobody knows if I'm black or white. It's so awful. I hear racist comments. I don't feel courageous enough to say anything. Like, you know, I was in a very white world. And then, you know, my dad's crazy, and like my mom doesn't live with us. Like it was just so many things to be embarrassed about. But then when my sister made the movie, I was so proud, because I was like, this is so unique. Like nobody else has this story. Right. And I'm proud of it. Like, I feel like it was like love was the bottom, like the common denominator, you know, and my mom did it for us so that we could go to good schools, and we did go to good schools. My dad was an amazing dad, but like unpredictable. And he made me an artist. I mean, I feel like I reacted to all of that by becoming a songwriter, because I needed to put my feelings somewhere, and that's where. That's so interesting. I was proud.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a different lens to sort of reframe your life for you, so that you see it for what it is from the outside, and that's kind of a remarkable opportunity to be able to see that on the big screen.
I know, to see yourself as a child, even though she did not look like me at all, but she was really cute.
Oh, come on. Don't sell yourself.
I was cute, but we didn't look alike. Anyway. Yeah.
So you are a biracial, mixed race person, as you say, and you just mentioned something. I want to sort of follow up on that. Do you feel like you've encountered challenges because of race? And, you know, does your racial background inform the way that you look at your own life and live your life? So I guess from the outside in and the inside out.
I have encountered challenges. I mean, I went to Phillips Exeter Academy. I look white-ish, but then people are like, what are you? You know, there's a lot of what are you questions. One boyfriend I had, this is just unbelievable. Did this just happen in a movie too? This boyfriend I had was like, what are you? And I was like, a person. He's like, no, but like, what are you? Someone asked me and I didn't know. And I was like, my mom's black and my dad's white. And he was like, oh, come on, really, what are you? And I was like, no, seriously. And he's like, yeah, I'm really going to tell my mother I'm dating a black girl.
Wait,
like,
what?
Can you imagine that happening today?
No.
Yes.
I mean, I can't even imagine.
I mean, so for me, I feel sort of like it's hard because I don't look white or black. And so I've never felt like anyone knows what I am. And it's hard to like, my mom didn't like the word biracial. So like, I didn't really know how to describe myself. And so I just grew, like my sister and I are both sort of, and we encounter that too. Like if my sister shows up to audition to be a writer as a black woman, they're like, what the hell are you talking about? You're white, you know, or people say like that white woman is your mother. Cause my mom's really light skinned. And like, you know, people who are white don't understand that black people come in all different shades. And that there's white trickled down from Thomas Jefferson, y'all. We're all mixed up. Some of us are getting a lot of that coming through. And my mother's siblings are all different shades. And people are uneducated. So it's frustrating because you have to kind of, you feel like you're defending yourself all the time.
Right.
And the other thing that really bothers me that is, I just feel like putting out there is that, you know, back in the day, if you had a drop of black blood, you're black. Now people are like, prove you're black, because of affirmative action. People don't believe that you're black. They think you're trying to get away with something. So it's like, it's really hypocritical.
I mean, it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? From both directions, which is incredibly frustrating. So what can artists, what can musicians, those of us performing, do to combat that? That is still prevalent in society, as we have been shown abundantly in the last several weeks, in just heartbreaking ways. What can we do as artists?
I mean, I guess bring awareness, obviously. Talk about it. We have a platform that's larger, and we can just make people understand what's going on who might not. Write about it, write songs about it. And I mean, Pink Martini has always been a very inclusive band in terms of like music from all different parts of the world and cultures, and we try to like reflect that in every way we can. But I don't know. I mean, do you know what we can do as artists?
I just had a long conversation with one of the organizations I work with about, you know, what messaging should be. And it's harder for, you know, large arts organizations versus a single voice or, you know, a band. But from my perspective, it's like, as an organization or a person working for one, I can't take a political stance, but the actionable things that I can do is to present music from, you know, marginalized and overlooked composers that were simply overlooked because of race, and their music is not in the forefront. And there's tons of it, you know, and I've always programmed as much as I could, but now I'm thinking that orchestras will be more willing to take on the challenge of, hey, this is great music, why aren't we playing it more? Because it should be. And so, you know, create inclusivity in that way and representation, and, you know, without having to say anything through the music I choose to perform, to say, this is what we believe in, this is what we should be doing, and this is how we, you know, bring a little bit more equality, especially to something as elitist as a symphony orchestra. And that's a whole different conversation that I don't even want to get into. It's challenging. It's really challenging.
Yeah.
So how are you keeping creative in this, speaking of challenging, these very strange and challenging times? I mean,
so strange and so challenging. I mean, I started out when I got home from the tour that was cut short on March 12th. It was sort of like, oh my God, I thought I was going to be on tour for a while, but now I'm not. And so I was so excited, and I had written this song in the fall called Wash Your Hands. And I was like, I got to put out this song because suddenly everybody's going to understand what I'm talking about. And so I was making videos, and like I wrote a song called Together as One about staying apart, social distancing. And I made a music video about that, where I learned how to make it on iMovie, and that was like fun. You know, I just learned a lot of stuff right away. And wrote a lot of songs, just was recording them in my home studio. And so I feel excited because I'm capable of doing that here alone. And I can just keep doing that as long as I want. So I'm not stressed about being out of work right now. I needed a break, and all my career, the only breaks I've had are for surgery or childbirth, you know, so I'm always dealing with a newborn or dealing with a new hip, you know, it's like, I've got a new shoulder, I've got another new shoulder, new vocal cords. And so it just has been like tedious. Like I never had a break. So I'm thinking of this as my sabbatical. Which is fun. I feel very excited about it, and very, like, I have a lot of work I can do.
That's a really great way of approaching it. I think a lot of artists sort of see it as loss of, you know, what they do, but you're seeing it as opportunity, which is, I think, the only way you can look at it in a healthy way. Holly Golightly is asking, what other profession would you be curious to try out? Would you be curious to try out a different profession?
Well, I want to say that I would want to be an architect. Right now, the other thing I'm doing during my time is I was in the process over the past year of designing an addition to my house, and
okay.
it was supposed to start, and then COVID hit, and I was like, oh my God, this is so dumb. Like, I have no income now, but I was like,
Right.
I'll do it anyway. So I'm doing it, and I go to sleep every night, literally walking my mind through the new spaces I'm creating, and like thinking of like, oh, I forgot about that detail. Like, I can't sleep when I think about it. It's so exciting. So that I've always loved design, partly because I grew up in that apartment that is depicted in the movie, which was a messy apartment of my dad's making. And I just wanted my own space so badly. And I wanted a space that I chose. And so having a house is the most exciting thing in my life other than my son. And now just like I've done a lot of remodeling over the years. So I'm doing yet another project, and it's taking up a lot of my attention. So that if I could become an architect, I would do that.
You consider that. You kind of are being an architect now, but you know.
Yeah. But I'm leaving the tedious calculations to Brian, my actual architect.
Right.
And I'm just coming up with ideas.
You have the overarching vision. Someone else can execute, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. So one more question for you.
Yeah.
This is kind of morbid, but on your deathbed when you're 103, right? What are you going to look back at as sort of a moment where things just crystallized for you as a person or as a musician, or just, you know, a moment or two where everything just clicked?
Oh, man. That's a hard one.
Yeah, I know.
Where everything just, well,
it can be
I know a moment. I mean,
okay.
I don't know that. I mean, I've over the years, because I told you I'm a homebody, I've lived with a very, like, I'm a Taurus. I'm very like ground oriented. And I like being home, but I like adventure too, because I'm a Sagittarius rising. So like I have this pull between the two. And I've just, it's like whether in my 30s, it was like, am I or am I not going to have a child? Then it was like, do I or do I not want to keep touring? You know, I can never stop worrying about it. But there was this moment in Singapore when I was backstage about to go on, and it came over me like, you were born to do this. And it made me so calm. I was just like, stop resisting it. Like, this is what you know? And so that moment was major. It was just such a relief.
I mean, that's such a major moment of clarity too.
Yes.
Where all of a sudden it makes, like, everything makes sense. Your decisions make sense, and your future decisions make sense.
Yeah.
Oh,
so that was good.
Yeah. That just gave me shivers. So, I mean, that's a really good one.
I mean, it's so fun to feel like you're doing what you're meant to be doing. You know, I really appreciate that as a person, because I see other people struggling with, like, what do I do with my life? And even though I love what I do, I struggle with it. But just feeling like, you know what, there's no way, stop resisting it. Like, this is what you do.
Right.
It comes naturally. Like, you know, keep going with what comes naturally, and don't fight against that. Right.
It's essentially just being your authentic self.
Yeah.
And having that be an extraordinary gift to the people who get to listen to you. I mean, it's a win-win as far as I think the world is concerned. And
yes.
Right. Yay. China, it's been so much fun. I mean, thanks for spending this time with me. And for those of you who are watching, listening, this is going to be up next Wednesday on my YouTube channel, along with lots of other things. And next week, it's Christian McBride, the bassist, that's going to be on Wednesday, not Friday. So yeah, China, you're amazing. I love working with you. I can't wait to work with you again. Once
I know.
This all changes.
So
totally. And
happy
music is still going to be
Juneteenth.
there. Was that?
Happy Juneteenth to everyone.
Happy Juneteenth to you and everyone. Thanks, China. Thanks everyone.
Sarah. Bye.
Bye.